WIDR Kalamazoo, broadcasting for you. How was that?
That was lovely.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to WIDR 89.1 for episode 5 of Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Bella Hamid, and this episode's guest is Jaxon Curry.
That's me. I'm Jaxon Curry. This is what my voice sounds like.
Hello, Jaxon.
Hi.
Hi. Where can people find you at?
Oh, you can find me. At on the gram over at Jaxon, because I like saying my name. And if you want to view some stand-up, I do. I've got a YouTube channel over at Jaxon Curry Official. I sprung early, so I could lock that in.
Lock that in, yeah. And then you also do live comedy occasionally.
Yes, I perform a lot at the Lucky Wolf over in Paw-Paw. I'm guessing a lot of your listeners at least know what Paw-Paw is.
Yeah, so the tower only reaches like the general vicinity of Kalamazoo. So hopefully they know what Paw-Paw is. But if you don't know what Paw-Paw is, look it up.
It's not far.
It's
I
not
promise.
far. It's like 20 minutes out probably. All right. Well, I'm so excited to have you here today. You are our first comedian. And you were supposed to be our first episode until the sickness struck.
I think this is like a saga has been unfolding to get this
to get
done.
you on this show, yeah.
Because I've been sick. There've been blizzards. It's just.
I feel like God said no, but we said yes.
This is an insult to God. This is the existence of this.
For legal purposes and to any of our Christian viewers, I love God and He loves you.
Yep.
So anyway,
just to get the business out of the way first.
Just to get the business out of the way. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how comedy works?
Comedy works, but it also doesn't work a lot of the time. It's a lot of just throwing shit at the walls and being like, hey, is this anything? Like, especially like with writing material where you can just like write.
You can write about anything. No one's stopping you.
Am I the authority here?
No one's stopping you.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not like a lot of clear rules. Like, especially there is like some guiding stuff. Like with music theory, you can have like, hey, here's what is a way to get it to work, like there's strategies to produce comedy, but a lot of like the actual like the important part of getting people to laugh is just like it's very up in the air. Like you can't predict it.
For sure. So like what are techniques you use specifically?
I like honestly, a lot of it is judgment, like me going like, maybe people will like this. And again, like it's hard to predict.
Yeah.
I also like to just like sometimes just throw it at people, like no prompting. Like I'll just be like, hey, you're going to listen to me talk about old people for a minute. And that's like me testing out material, specifically on old people. I don't just talk about old people on random times.
That'd be a little strange.
Yeah, but I think my friends would be used to that.
Yeah, for sure. So like a lot of your like sounding board for new material is like your friends and family then, you'd say?
Yes, that's definitely like where I kind of
so they get to hear all the bad ones.
Yep, they deal with a lot of just terrible jokes. Yeah.
So have you found that you've been doing this for a really long time? I've seen you do this for at least 4 years.
My first stand-up show was in the 8th grade middle school talent show. I went up. It's awful.
Yeah, for sure.
I've considered posting it just to be like, hey, do you want to watch this? But I'm like, I don't want that out yet. It's on my mom's Facebook if you want to track it down. Keen listeners.
Yeah.
Dedicated fans will know.
Only dedicated fans will know. The original Jaxon Curry content.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I watched you. I watched you first at a talent show. Maybe it must have been my sophomore year of high school.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah, because that was your freshman year, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was just like, who is this kid? Because I had heard about you, not going to lie, I had heard about you around the school, and I was convinced you were a football player.
Oh, no doubt. I was. So my freshman year, I was varsity on the cross country team.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then I never ran again. I went, I don't want to do this.
So have you found that like a lot of your like judgment calls come from like the experience of being a bad middle school comedian?
I think anyone in stand-up is bad starting out. So yeah,
for sure.
I think that you just need to be bad for a long time. And I still think a lot of my stuff is bad, but it's also like you're learning. And I think you're always like with life and stand-up, like you're constantly learning and improving. So I know that I have improved, but I also know like when I look back at the stuff I'm doing now, I will also see this is not good.
And I think it's like easy to be super critical, especially because you have like for instance, like in music, it's all about the hits and the listens and the selling the CDs and being the big music. Like how many people are listening to my stuff? But like, you know, that number can kind of fluctuate, you know, multiple platforms. In comedy, they either laugh or they don't.
Yeah, you get that immediate, did I make it or not?
Exactly.
It's the yes or no.
Yeah. So do you find that like that can be like super stressful at times?
I think that is one of the most stressful things I do.
Okay.
Of like with stand up. It's just, is it funny or not? And it sometimes isn't. And that is just the worst feeling when you're like up there doing a bit and you're going like, oh, this is not landing.
Yeah. What do you do when a joke falls flat?
You try and find out how to get out of it as quickly as you can.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples that come to mind? It's okay if you don't.
I can't think of any at the moment, but
we'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll let you sit on it for a little bit.
Thank you. I'll ruminate over the.
For sure. I think we've talked about like comedy, but I think it's time to put it to action.
Oh man.
So let's listen to Jaxon Curry's first opening gig.
Oh, how terrifying. I remember this gig.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say before we head into it?
I think let's just let it speak for itself before we make fun of it.
Let it speak for itself. You know, everyone has to come from somewhere, Jaxon. There's nothing wrong with that. I have it saved as
Lucky Wolf. Let me hear everybody do their Lucky Wolf howl. That's not a real thing. I just wanted to see if you could do it. And you delivered. Thank you.
Is this gonna be
I
painful for
appreciate
you?
that.
Oh, very, yes.
So here we are. Way to ride the horses. We started 15 minutes late, actually. What do we have going on here? Here we are. I am Jaxon Curry. You might know me from the poster. It's got my name on it and everything. I look like a sad clown. I love it. It's fantastic. Now, are you guys ready for some comedy? Yeah. I love it. We got some unenthused, some socially obligated claps. It's perfect. It's good enough for me, honestly. First up, we have... Wait. This crowd is not warmed up at all. It is lukewarm at best in here. But don't worry, that's fine. That's my job. I'm the opener. It's my job to get you guys ready to laugh. It doesn't really matter if I'm funny, alright? Like, the best job that I can do tonight is, like, on the car ride home, somebody briefly mentions, oh, you know, the opener wasn't bad. And everybody goes, yeah. And then you never mention me again. That is gold star on my forehead. I did a great job. So here we are. Let's get into warming up. Real quick, I'm going to take the temperature of this room and see what we're working with. We're going to start over here. I see we've got at least 3 whole people. I love it. This section here, if we are all warmed up and ready for comedy, I want you to go,
I remember looking at
and
the
if not,
YouTube video
I want you to stare back
it's a little
at me
empty
with
in
awkward and
there.
uncomfortable silence.
Which is something with comedy. Where, like, there's not enough people, it
2,
won't
1.
do well. Which, like,
It's really interesting. I mean, it sounds like there's
Awkward and
more people,
uncomfortable
but there really
silence.
just wasn't.
Spot on.
Maybe that means you were doing good.
Hot.
I'd like to think so.
It wasn't hot. It was
I also
kinda
feel like that,
the
like
temperature
comedy
of
shows,
fries
people
that were
come
left on
to
the
laugh.
counter.
Yes.
Like, so they're prepared
You
to
know,
like
and
be a
you're
little
like, I
more
guess they're
fighting.
edible.
But like when I
Yeah.
saw you at
They
the
are
talent
not.
show, people aren't prepared to laugh.
Let's try
They're
this
ready to
segment
watch
over
their
here,
like
okay?
they're
I've
ready
got
to
a
watch
better
their single
feeling about this
performance
one.
Yeah.
with their friends.
They've
Sing.
got like a cousin or something,
Yeah.
and they're like doing,
I like these
Sing.
guys.
they're singing a song, and they're like, all right, I guess I'll
You guys
go.
have to earn it.
And then I come out, and it's like,
So here's what we're gonna do. If you guys are warmed up and ready for comedy, I want you to go, I'm hot and ready. You know, like what I imagine the Little Caesars mascot says before sex. You're welcome for putting that image in your head as you fall asleep tonight. And if you're not hot and ready, I want you to stare back at me with awkward and uncomfortable silence. In 3,
So-
2, 1.
So some
Wow,
of
you
the
guys,
like
they're winning, all right?
places I've been to have like
I
a
do
standing
think
pit in the
you were
front.
too
Is that the
focused
case
on
with the
what he
Lucky
has
Wolf?
underneath the toga. That's fine.
How close are they to
We've
you?
all been there
oh, some of
before.
them are very close. I think I'll actually go out into the crowd later in this bit.
Okay.
And I'm a little
So
concerned
just to like talk
because
about, I
it
don't know,
can be typically
can I talk
warm
about
around the
this
side
sure.
and
piece in
ice
general?
cold in the middle, which I
This
think we all
one,
have
so it was my first
experienced,
opening
and
gig,
we've all
and I
microwaved
looked
a
into
hot
a
pocket
lot of
before.
like what
That's fine.
I don't know.
Here's
There's
what we're
not a
gonna
lot
do.
of
We're gonna
people
check
posting their
this.
opening stuff
So what
because
I
when you're
want you to
opening,
do
you're at the bottom
is
of the
if you feel like
stand-up
you're warmed up
ladder.
and ready,
Like
I just
nothing
wanna
else
test-
really.
I want you to test the
Like
person you're
no one's
sitting next
below
to,
you.
if you know them.
Like there's featured, which is kind of
And if it's
mid-range,
warmed up
and then
and
there's
ready, I want you to
headliners
go,
who are like the guys that they put
And
on the
if not,
marquee.
awkward
But
and
opener is just kind of like
uncomfortable silence in 3,
it's a step up from
2,
open mic, I
1.
guess, where like anyone can go. So there is like some screening, but like basically I kind of just kind of walk
You
in.
guys are doing amazing. I would rate this
And
crowd.
the opener's job is really just
like
to
a
get
school
the
assembly
crowd
right
ready
now, which is
to
really
laugh.
good.
It's to
Like
warm
it's one of the
them up.
school assemblies where they do magic.
What I wanted to do
Not
is
like
like
the
I wanted
ones
to
where they
actually
go,
like
stop shitting
get
in
them
the sink.
involved and like get some back and forth
You
just
guys have
because
those, or was that
they're
just
put into this room and they I don't know there's not really any like
It's more
connection
prevalent than I would
between
like,
like the
is all I'm
groups
going to say about
and
it.
it's just kind of like
Now,
they're
to get warmed up.
they're
let's get to know
expecting
each other,
to laugh
right?
so you get a bit of leeway but like they're not
Now,
like warmed up
let's
and they're
start
not
with me,
ready they're
because I
just
have
kind
the
of there.
microphone. My name is Jaxon Curry. I live at 30609 Red Arrow Highway. The code to get into my house is 0314, and I keep all my quarters in a little sock in my underwear drawer. And I get headaches when it rains. That's all you need to know about me. Let's learn about some of our friends in the audience. I know you guys sat in the front so I could pick on you. You're not asleep. Here's who we're really gonna do. Who do I want to meet? I'd like to meet you, sir. What is your full legal name? I need to hear Randy. Shh. What's your full legal name?
Randy Neville.
There's no middle name?
Joe.
Randy Joe Neville. Thank you. Randy Joe Neville. There are just some questions that I feel like I need to ask you if I'm going to do comedy for you, all right? What is your mother's maiden name?
Laura Angela Neville.
Oh, that's the full name. I love it. Thank you, Laura Angela Neville. All right, cool. Completely unrelated question. What are your 4 favorite numbers to type into a keypad? Like, what's the first thing that goes into your mind when I say your total is 2432? What do you type?
All 5.
I like it, security. I'm gonna write that down for later. It will help me close my tab. Perfect. We're getting to know each other. I love it. Excellent, guys.
This is kind of
I feel like we're
because,
bonding as a
of all
group.
the
We're
crowd
getting warmed up for
involvement.
these other
Like you
comics.
you really
Get
are
even
inviting
closer.
hecklers kind
Let's
of.
talk about something that will really bring us together as a group. Something we can all agree on. All right? Let's talk about current events. We can all agree there, right? No, we can't. But we're gonna pretend. All right. In news, guys, I get where the climate activists are coming from. Do you guys realize how hard it's going to be to bring soup into a fucking museum now? I just want to take my thermos full of lobster bisque and look at the excellent work of Van Gogh, but they will not. They'll take it from me. They say no soup for you.
It's the obligatory Seinfeld reference for everyone.
Let me go in there. In other news, I recently heard an inspiring and heartwarming story, I think.
Oh,
It's
okay. So this is a
about
good example of just a
Just
bit.
real, what I feel is
And I
pure
hadn't
distilled the American dream.
worked
Let
on
me
it
tell you
much.
the story. A young emerald, the son of an emerald miner who owns multiple billion-dollar corporations, decides to also purchase a billion-dollar media company. That's just the pure American dream. I love it.
Yeah,
And what does he
See,
immediately
there's
do?
nothing there. That was
he
kind of.
charges to use
that
it.
was supposed to be a laugh.
Because Twitter was
Yes.
already terrible.
I definitely think like
It's gotten
Paw-Paw.
even worse. They don't all have to be winners, guys. I
Yeah,
understand.
there's
The
some
worse
issues
my
with
jokes
it.
do,
And
the better
what I
they
did,
look.
and what I feel like
That's
is
all
just
well and good.
when you bomb,
What
just
else is
keep
there?
going.
keep going for sure.
Halloween. Did you guys
Don't
all
like
see
dig
the
yourself deeper into the
decorations?
hole. Just
Very
oh,
spooky.
that didn't work.
My personal
Next step.
favorite decoration.
Move on to
are
the stuff that
scariest
you know
ones,
is
which
funny.
are the political signs in the yards. I'm terrified by all of those, especially seeing who puts which ones up. Guys,
Do you ever find that because of the demographic
we're not
in
talking about
Paw-Paw
news. We're not
being
about that. Let's.
what it is, it's difficult
So
to
something I
say
noticed
everything
about
you want to say?
myself.
Absolutely.
sure.
I have a good
I don't
example
know.
of like the demographic
Change
not
in the weather.
fitting the
If
material.
it was the pandemic.
I was doing an open
monkeypox.
mic
I don't
in
know what it
Lawton,
was.
and I was
But
doing
just
this
ever since
stuff
I turned
that
18,
I
I
had done.
realized-
I had done like at an open mic in Chicago
I
actually,
got old.
and it was the same material, and it did pretty good in Chicago. But then I did it
I
in
don't
Lawton,
mean like
and there was
oh, high
nothing.
school
But
is
the thing
ending,
was,
my childhood
I
is
talked
over.
about
No,
like
no, no, no,
having
I mean
COVID,
old.
and it was just kind of like it was a
I
very
wear
clear like, hey,
sweaters
they don't really
all the time
care
now.
about COVID here, and it's not really a
I
thing.
start and end every day with a cup of tea. I knit
You've done this specific bit
with yarn.
a lot. Not a lot, maybe like
old
3
my
times before I've heard
teenagers
it.
or anything. I'm old like I'm a
I did it
95-year-old
a
man.
few years ago at a talent show.
Yeah.
And
I'm
you
getting
can kind
worried.
of
I'm afraid someday soon
reuse
my
stuff
friends are going
with,
to get together. And they're going
stand-up.
to say to me,
Yeah,
Jackson,
okay.
but it's you don't want to do the
I just
exact
don't
same
think
set
you should
every
be
time.
driving
It's
anymore.
kind of like having a set list as a musician. You go like,
sure.
They
oh,
will
this is a
be
good,
right. There have been
is a good
times when I've
song, like it's a
chosen
good
to not
bit,
go
you know.
somewhere
You'd be like, oh,
just
this
because
worked
I
well
don't
here.
wanna be
Let's play it
driving when
again.
it's
you
dark
know?
out.
Yeah.
Which is a valid excuse, I feel. My eyes are just not what they used to be.
What I did notice about
But there is a
performing this
silver
one
lining to
is
all of
that
this.
they
And it is
didn't
that I
respond as
have
well to
come
it as I
now
thought.
Until when
And I was talking with
actually
one of the
get
comedians
old.
backstage. I was like,
To
yeah,
get really
I don't know
good
why.
at it.
Like my
This
beginning
right now,
newer
this is just
stuff
practice.
was
But while all my other
landing
friends are
so much
struggling
better
with
than my
aging,
older stuff that
I'll have
was
been doing
tested.
this for
you know?
years.
I was like, I know this works.
I'll be a pro.
And it did fine, right? But it didn't do as well
And
as
speaking
early
of pros,
stuff.
I feel
And he told
this
me, like,
crowd's
oh, yeah,
just
they kind of
warming
pick up on
We're
it.
ready to get on to our featured performer.
They can tell that you're
Ladies and
excited about
gentlemen, you have
showing them a
seen
new
him
bit,
perform in comedy
and then
clubs
I kind of
across
settle
New
into the
York
groove with
and
this
LA
one.
and everywhere in between.
You know,
From
because I've
New
rehearsed
Jersey,
this
he
one
now
so many
calls
times before,
himself
so I just go like,
Chicago
okay, and then
home.
this, and this,
Please
and this, and
welcome
this.
to the
But
stage,
instead,
Joe Antonacci.
Yeah, definitely.
Jackson, how are you? How about Jackson here, huh?
that was the thought, really. Like, it
Oh, that was the
yeah.
okay. Sorry. Yeah, sorry for that awkward silence. Yeah, firstly, there's so many good things to talk about with that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, you had some great things. I definitely think like I'm assuming comedy works the same way as like bands work, where it's like the opening band, who are those guys?
Absolutely.
Like we gotta be here an hour early to see them.
Yeah. Except the thing with stand-up is the opener goes on when the show starts, so it's just like you're gonna watch the opener no matter what.
Ah, that's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause like for bands, usually it goes before the actual set time.
Oh, interesting.
Well, a little bit. Like it's a little depends where you're at. But like, yeah. So like, if the headliner, if it starts at 7, you'll maybe like if they have 2 openers, the second opener will start at like 7:30. First one will start at like I don't know 6 like 40ish,
Oh, okay.
a little something around there. Yeah. Then the headliner like won't go on until you're already wanting to leave. Like I went to this concert and it was kind of like that. But anyway, yeah, so like I kind of want to talk a little bit more about like your material.
Yeah,
Like and
sure.
not and like it being based on like where you are because like you're a local comedian, right? But you
Yes.
said you did an open mic in Chicago and it was way different.
Yeah. My material, it's a lot of like observational humor. And I think things are like, for things to be funny, it usually has to be relatable to like people. So since it's observational, a lot of people can relate to it, you know? Like in Chicago, I talked about having COVID and like all of the weird stuff that went with it. And a lot of people have had COVID. And if they haven't, they know the symptoms, you know? Like I did a joke about like losing my taste. And people were like, yeah, that's a symptom of COVID. They can understand it and they can go like, oh,
Yeah,
funny.
for sure. So do you find yourself like trying to like fit into that specific groove of the comedy aspect?
I do think so, but also there's a danger to catering to your audience, like specifically. Like if it's kind of like hack material where if you're talking about stuff, it'll seem desperate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's never good. You have to.
No.
Do you find yourself having to be overly confident, kind of?
Yeah, it doesn't work for me if I'm not. Like
Got
I
it.
kind of have to get into the mindset of like I'm the best, I'm the funniest.
For
And
sure.
all these other comics, they're okay, but I'm really good. I have potential. And that's an exaggerated version of it, but that's kind of what I have to do to get myself in the mindset.
Yeah, because that seems like super scary, and obviously it's not for everyone.
It's not. It's not for even a lot of stand-up comics.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people, stand-up is like a stepping stone to better jobs, you know.
I've noticed that for sure. Keep going.
Oh, it's definitely like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stars like made their starts in stand up. I think like Tim Allen did like stand up in like Kalamazoo and Lansing, and like he obviously is not known for his stand up. And like a lot of sitcom and TV writers will begin with that, and it's to kind of learn like how to write comedy. But it's also it's not for everyone, and it's really a like exercise in self-confidence because it's you. You're up there and you wrote the material and you're the only one performing it. So it's like it's all on you. So you kind of really have to like get into the mental space of like, yes, I can do this. And yeah, they will laugh at this. Because the audience picks up on it. Like they're really like kind of eerily sensitive to stuff like that. Like if you don't believe in a joke, but it could be the funniest joke in the world, but if you don't believe in it, they won't laugh, or they won't get as many laughs as you think, just because they can pick up on the energy you're putting out.
For sure. So like you talked about like comedy usually being a stepping stone, and I've noticed that a lot. Like I'll be like, "This is my friend Jackson. He's a comedian," and they'll be like, "Cool. What else?" And I'm like, "That's what he does. That's like his job. He's a comedian. That's what he does." But like, do you see yourself doing anything like being an actor or something in the future?
I think I'm kind of really open to doing just about anything with like just writing and performing. Like it's something that like I really love. Like I love storytelling, and I love like connecting with people through storytelling. So like I would be open to doing like acting and like especially like writing, like TV writing, and
sure.
Just in general, it's just something that I'm really interested in. And I love writing, but I also love performing. So it's kind of stand up is kind of a combination of all of them. And I do like legitimately enjoy doing stand up.
For sure. That's
And that could be like the narcissist in me where I'm just up there and I'm like, it's just me.
it's me.
Now everyone has to listen to me
Look at
talk
me
for
now.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
There's nothing else going on.
Well, how long do like headliners go for?
Headliners typically go for about 40 minutes to an hour.
That's wild.
It is wild. And you have to build up that stamina.
Memorizing all that content.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And depending on how particular a comedian you are, it can get down to like the exact word choice, you know? So it is kind of like a role in like a play where it's like every word matters. Because like a lot of them are like, yeah, this word's funnier than this word. Like you get into the real nitty gritty of it. And you don't see that in performing. You kind of see like, oh, it's a goofy guy going up and being a funny personality. And you don't really see the behind the scenes of like how much work it goes into to creating that personality.
For sure.
Like, yes, it's me up on stage, but it's the version of me that I've gone like, okay, this is the one that I think people will like to see the most. And it would like, it's undeniably still me on stage. Like my personality's still there and my sense of humor is still there, but it's kind of like, it's
Turned up.
Yeah, it's amplified and it's also curated to like what
It's
people
like your
actually want.
TikTok For You page.
Yes, I am the algorithm, but I'm also the content going out.
Yeah, for sure. That's like actually really funny. So like, what inspires you to do comedy?
This is kind of weird, but some of the best inspiration I've gotten is from seeing really bad stand up, from seeing bad stand up. Yeah. Should I take that again? Do we want like a cleaner version of that?
I don't know. Just go for it.
I'm gonna say this is gonna sound really weird, but I get a lot of inspiration from seeing like bad stand up, like people going on and just doing stuff that like I don't like, and it's like
Fueled by rage.
kind of, and I just go like, oh, this could be so much better, and I'm also like, and it's a little pretentious, but it's like me going like, okay, there's material here, but it needs to be improved.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But it could be better.
And I don't know where that comes from, and I'm not normally like that, but I just see like comedians go and then they'll do stuff that I just do not enjoy, and then I go, okay, now I need to create something better to like balance it out.
For sure. What attracted you to being a comedian as opposed to like being an actor or a musician? Because those are also some talents you possess.
Yeah, I think partially it's just because I feel like I'm good at it, and I don't feel as confident in like music, just because I haven't done it for as long. I think like for a large part of my life, people have said like the standard like, oh, you're a funny guy thing, and you know, if you get people saying that to you for a long time, you start to go like, oh, okay, people think I'm funny. And people don't like, I haven't played instruments for as long as people have said I'm funny, so it's not as, I'm not as confident really.
For sure.
Which again, like the confidence of performing. And
Let's talk a little bit about your writing process. You said you're like super interested in that.
I am, because it's so weird how comics do it. Because a lot of the time it's like it's just kind of, you don't know what works. And that can be really difficult for like your confidence, because you could one night you could do an amazing set. You could be like, that was fantastic, I killed. And you can go home that night and you can start writing material. But since you're not getting the audience feedback, you don't know if it's funny or not. And then like you start to like overanalyze it and you go like, oh, this is nothing. This is the worst. And like, even though you killed earlier that night, you're going to bed that night being like, I can't write stand up. What am I doing?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel like it's like difficult and different from music in that aspect, because like I'm a musician, right? When I play my little doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but like you can't just like, what do? Like talk to your teddy bear? Like that can't laugh. So.
Yeah, and like you can walk around your room and like I'll like rant and I'll be like, oh, this is it. This is the stand up. But it just, you don't have the feedback. And so much of comedy is feedback.
Feedback, for sure. That's wild. So let's say you're like going home tonight and you're sitting down, you're like, I need new material.
Yes.
What are you starting with?
I like to try and keep a running list of like things. Like I'll write down things as they come to me. Like comedians will use like a notepad, or I sometimes I use like Google Docs.
Got it.
And it's just like, generally like I'll be like working or something, and I'll be like, oh, there could be something. A lot of it comes in the shower, actually, because I have a lot of time to think. So I'll get out of the shower and I'll like write down like, here's an idea, here's an idea, here's an idea. And then when it's time to write, I'll go back to those ideas and I'll be like, okay, how can we expand on them, and how can we write more jokes on it? And you kind of need like a certain momentum or energy with writing. Like it's not like a super practical like, all right, I'm gonna write the setup now. Okay, now I'm gonna write the punchline. You kind of need like a fluidity to it where it is natural. Just because it doesn't work if it's like super structured and it's like, I don't know. I'm not conveying this well, but
No one likes a knock knock joke.
no, it
Can't be like that.
no, it can't be, and it kind of, you need to like be standing up, and you need to have energy with doing it, which sometimes I'll
sure.
struggle with, where I'll write something and I'll be like, that's funny. And then I'll try and do it, but like, it'll be like late, or like, I just am not feeling it. And I'll be like, oh, this doesn't work. Cause it's not, I don't have the energy. I don't have the emotion behind it.
Yeah, that sounds really difficult. So you were talking about setup and punchline and stuff. Do you find yourself like, I know that there's this thing in comedy where it's important to like start with something and then tail back for it at the very end, kind of like when you
Oh,
do
yeah.
a speech.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever like forgotten parts in the middle?
Oh yes, I've had like I've done parts, and then like I'm supposed to have like a callback later in the set, and then I'll be like moving towards the callback after I've forgotten the setup, and then I'll be like, oh no, I have to take out 2 jokes now. And like, it's a lot of like improvisation, like you're doing it on the fly, like as you're performing you go like, ooh, I missed that, now I can't do that. And sometimes it kind of hurts, like as you're performing, you realize like, oh, I have to kill my baby now.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a weird way of thinking about it, but that's like how I'll view jokes sometimes, where I'll be like, this is my child, and I didn't support them because I didn't set them up right. So now I just have to like kill it.
They've got to go.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's like I feel like you do a 10-minute set and then like other guys do like 40-minute sets. Is that just like a bunch of memorization, or is it kind of easy because you write it?
I think I've seen some comics go on with like notepads, which is definitely like helpful for like writing. It's like a set list, you know, where it'd be like, oh, I'll talk about this and this and this. I've noticed like, and this is just something that I maybe feel, but like when a comic is like they come out with notes, I kind of am hesitant when I see that, because I go like, oh, that's, you haven't gone through the work of like memorizing it, and like, which isn't necessarily true, because they could be really like fluid, and it's just like security for them.
Yeah. I definitely, yeah, I feel like I'd probably feel the same way. Like, I'd want you to know your stuff if I'm paying for, like, comedy. But that's also just kind of, like, the consumer mentality. Because it is an art form, and you should be able to do it however you want. Is there anything that you're, like, working to improve on?
Everything.
Everything?
Yes. Joke structure is always room for improvement. Kind of working on finding a comedic voice. Like I'm developing one, but I need to like just continue with it and like find out like, what does that look like for me, you know?
For sure. I think it's time for another joke.
Oh,
Jaxon
man.
Curry stand-up senior year, as filmed by your mom, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
there's
this
a
is your
decrease in quality with this one.
Yeah, that's okay. I watched this one and I was like, yeah, I kind of vibed with it. Not as much as the opening
The
gig
opening one?
Yeah. But I think it's because I was like not the audience, you know?
Oh, for sure. I think it'll be interesting to talk about this one.
For sure. All right, let's play it.
This is a much bigger venue, so you can really hear the...
Yeah,
echo
yeah,
here.
because the Performing Arts Center in Paw-Paw seats like, what, 1,000 people?
I think about 700.
700? Somewhere in there.
We did not fill the house this night,
No.
though. Oh, so that was interesting. So, to talk about that, that's Calling the Room. There's this thing in stand-up called Calling the Room, where something happened earlier in the show, and I'm addressing it.
Got it.
So Alex did a joke about like this. So Alex is another stand-up comedian, and he talked about how this wasn't a competition between who is the better stand-up. The real competition between the stand-ups was going to be the fight in the parking lot after the show.
Got it.
And I'm butchering his joke, but like he did that, and like I was like, oh, okay. It kind of is on me now to like, do I address it or not? And it's just something where it's like it's more fun for people. It didn't land super well, which like I'm like, oh, okay.
For sure.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jaxon Curry. You might know me from the past hour. Yes. In regards to what Alex said earlier, you are on 9:30 in front of the parking lot. Bring your friends. I accept the challenge. Thank you. The thing is, I have been doing this high school and a little bit of music, middle school, 5 years. I knew someone was going to come around eventually. You really think I haven't been training? Get ready.
Got one clap.
You are not going to die in a car crash. It will be.
Do you ever find that like your biggest fans are your friends and mom?
I do feel that sometimes.
Yes, it is true.
Sometimes I'll do a joke and I'll be like, ooh.
I feel like you can pick up on it a little
I
bit.
know who
don't
laughed
have
at
to
that one.
Spring in my
Yeah.
stuff that I used to.
You ever like write your jokes for a specific person? That's
But you
wild.
can tell. You can see it in my eyes, can't you? Like, look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. What's your name? Mariah, look into my eyes and tell me I haven't seen the 4 years of horror that high school holds. You think I have? Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been here 4 years. I still have not found the man selling cotton candy in the bathrooms. But I smell it. If you did not get that joke, ask your kid on the drive home. It will be a fun conversation, I guarantee it. Senior year. I know that it is the only thing you're allowed to talk to now that I'm a senior, but no, I do not want to talk about college. And when people ask me about it, part of me just wants to answer it as honestly as possible. Like when people ask me, Jaxon, what's next for you? What are your next steps? What are you doing? What do you got planned? I just want to pause and go, well, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think what's best for me is probably make a sandwich. I'm pretty hungry. If there's room, sneak in a nap. As you can see, I have a pretty bright future ahead of me. Got going. Being a senior, it's just strange, right? Because I'm old, but only in this building. Everywhere else, I'm just a kid still, right? But in here, when people find out I'm a senior, when the underclassmen find out I'm a senior, I'm ancient. I've seen empires crumble to dust, friend groups rise and fall. I was there for the birth of TikTok. Back when it was Musical.ly. If you don't know that I don't want to know. And it's odd. And it's only in this building, only in the high school. Everywhere else, I'm just kind of a tall child who can vote. But high school, it's just kind of strange like that. There's nothing else like it. There's nowhere else where you get such a broad mix of people in the same building every single day. And like in any given class, I can have someone on my right who they're studying hard, they want to get into Harvard. They want to get into a fancy pants school like that. They're trying to get into Harvard. And yes, because I called it a fancy pants school, I feel like you can kind of pick up it's not really where
Would you ever see yourself doing?
That's not the point. The point is he
You do a
is
lot
smart.
of observational self-degradation humor,
Yeah.
but I feel like would you do like humor where you role play as
the
something?
cafeteria stopped offering Costco sticks. You just
Yeah.
get Spectrum like
It's fun
that.
to just like play like a goofy character. And it's a unique take on stand-up to play a character doing stand-up. I don't know, I'll circle back to Steve Martin because he kind
Like
of
any given conversation, I can be
went all
talking
the way
with
around
someone, the first person will be telling me about their
a comic.
brand new
He was
internship
playing
at
like a
Pfizer.
comedian's
By
comedian.
the way, don't tell me
Or
about
like
that.
it was like
I've been
cartoonish.
pretending to care for 4 years. Nerd.
The role was that he was a stand-up
And then the
comedian,
next person I
and he
talked
wasn't
to,
a good one. And that
Got
was
it.
where the
giving
comedy
me an
was.
update on how
He
the
was
cows
playing
are
the role
doing.
of
Which,
a bad
yes,
stand-up
do
comedian.
tell me
Got
about
it,
it.
yeah.
Let me know
So
how
there
those
were, like,
guys are
layers
doing.
to it.
If you have animals, see me after the show. What are they up to? What shenanigans have they been getting up to? And there's nothing else like it. Like, could you imagine, like, an office job being like that? With such a mix? Like the hiring manager comes in and he's like, all right, here's who I'm thinking of for the new positions. First person, top NASA scientist, real nerd type. Yeah, that's right. I'll call NASA nerds. I'll take them down a peg like that. They've been riding the high of the moon landing for what, 70 years? Get new material. Here's Paw-Paw Beacon. place. And you know, that other person who I'm considering for the position is, I was thinking we could get someone who, like, hides in the bathroom all hour sniffing glue, yeah? Which is no disrespect to them. I enjoy an Elmer session as much as the next person. You can work with my teachers, no, you did not just hear me say that, and we're moving on. Now, it being my senior year, I've taken the opportunity to reflect on my many wonderful years of public education. And one or two things I've gone on, that was a bit odd. For example, I believe in elementary school, for a period of time, I was being enrolled in mime classes.
I kind of want to talk
Yes,
about
M-I-M-E, I'm stuck in a box of mime.
so like you do
Indoctrinated and educated in a mime.
go down that road of audience participation.
Yes, if you're doing crowd work, you're kind of really running the risk of having someone heckle you. Especially if you're like talking to someone. If you, like the classic like crowd work stuff of like, oh, what do you do for work? Like, what's your name?
Feels like a very
You're giving the voice or like the attention to that person. So now they kind of have the choice of like, do I play along with this comic or do I like harass him? Do I have some fun with it?
That just might be my training kicking in.
It's definitely a risky move. And you need
Every
to
Thursday,
kind of be
they
prepared.
file us into the
People
Spanish room.
be a jerk.
And I only mention that because it was not
really
taught by a Spanish teacher.
It
So I guess I
does,
can only imagine that
but if you
every Thursday
handle
they
it
would
well,
just
you can
storm in and
definitely
they'd go,
turn it into
get out of here! We got important stuff to pretend to do. Gotta teach these kids how to grease paint. That's a mime thing if you never took mime classes as a kid. I pity you, but also envy. It's a complicated feeling. Now, there's nothing else like it, and now, the thing is, I hope it was taught by a staff member, because I don't remember, and I hope it wasn't just someone who wandered in off the streets of Paw-Paw and slammed their fist on the principal's desk and went, you need to hire me. Why? Because I'll teach your kids the skills they need to survive. 1 week with me and you will believe they're stuck in a box. That's because we actually do it. But no, I think it was taught by the staff.
What Jackson?
And you may wonder at this point, Jackson,
What's the good?
how did your parents feel about this? And I described their reaction as, Like, you know, they'd see me after school and they'd go like, oh, Jackson, what'd you do at school today, buddy?
Like as a business
Mime classes. Oh.
I have worked with some comedians
Okay.
before.
That's
Like
cool.
some,
What class is that?
all the ones that I have
It's not
are like,
art.
they can be like very business, you know? Like
I remember
there
when
was one who
I
came
was in art, we
and
did
he
stuff like
tours all over and he
cutting
really promotes his
construction
show.
paper.
And he does a really fun thing.
You know, you gotta keep with the times, I guess, yeah.
Names,
Teach the kids the skills they need to survive.
if it means anything, but like this comedian really does crowd work and he is just really professional and he like recorded everything and like
But in general, they were
just kind of like it was like work to him, you know. So like he goes in and that's like him clocking in. And he goes up on stage and he does his
Like, I
hour.
get mime in school all day
And then he
long,
kind of
but I
leaves and he's
still-
like, yeah,
I
okay,
still had to talk at
that was
home.
it. I did a good job tonight.
Like, they pick me up from school and they go, Jackson, tell us about your day today.
Do you ever see yourself getting there, or would you stop for that to
How do you use
happen?
your words? You can't just...
I don't think I would continue if I felt like that was what I was doing.
Here's the thing.
Because
Alright.
just with how I view
I'm just
performing
checking
in
the watch I
general,
don't have, and I realized
there
I'm
has
already
to
late
be
for mime
passion.
classes.
Like, there has
Thank
to
you
be
everybody for
emotional
either laughing or pretending to laugh.
If not,
I have been Jaxon
why
Curry.
are we doing any of this? Why are we going out? There's better stuff out there. Like, and that's kind of what I feel like I owe people with my stand-up, is I owe them energy and I owe them like that I am putting the effort in for them. Because like they've paid for something, so I need to deliver something. So if I just like go in and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do like my 10 minutes, I don't view that as like acceptable for me. Just because that's why. Like, why go up? And the audience picks up on it too. Like they know like, oh, he doesn't really care. He's just kind of saying his jokes and then he's gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not really putting the energy into what you're doing, then I do question, and that's just a personal philosophy I have. Like, I question, like, why are you doing it then? What is the point of you going up there if you don't feel passionate about it and you don't love doing it?
Yeah, for sure. Is there anyone you love to work with? Like a little duo comedy moment?
Oh, there are so many comedians, I feel like. There's some that I just feel like I just adore, but I don't know how I'd work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a big inspiration for me is like John Mulaney. Like, I just really love his stand-up and what he does. And also just like all the goofy stuff he does on the side. Like, he'll do like a show on Broadway where he dresses up as an old man with his friend and he does like an hour of that. And it's just like, that's inspiring to me because I'm like, oh, he is a comedian, but he's also doing comedy in like new and unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he has a musical special like John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch, which is just, that's not his stand-up. That's just him kind of being a goofy guy for a while. And but I don't know if it would translate well if it was like working, you know?
What do you think, John Mulaney x Jaxon Curry stand
Ex
up?
Jaxon Curry.
Yeah, like together.
Oh,
What would you guys make?
probably something not very good.
Yeah, you really don't think you could
we'd
work
clash,
out?
like,
You'd clash.
creatively. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely has brown hair, and you definitely have blonde hair. So
And that we can't get along.
can't get along
Rules
with
are
that.
rules.
Those rules are rules, and we don't make them. So
He is a tall, thin boy, and I am a tall, thin boy, and there's only room for one
For
tall,
one.
thin boy in
Only
show
room for
business. So
everyone
I'd have to
knows.
kill him probably.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
That was a joke, John Mulaney. I would be acceptable in a room with you.
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
just don't fangirl too much.
I don't know who's gonna stop me.
No one's gonna stop you because this is your comedy.
Yeah.
So
Someone who I also really admire with comedy, is this. She is new to Saturday Night Live. Sarah Sherman, who is like big in like the alt comedy scene, where she goes and she does like the most bizarre things. And I don't know if I can really describe some of the stuff she does on like this radio station, just because it's out there and it's gory and it's almost like body horror comedy.
That's very strange.
And it's absurd. And if you've seen some of her SNL stuff, it's also just kind of weird, and it kind of like is very like challenging, and
It asks, what is comedy?
yeah,
For sure.
it's like subverting what you're expecting, and I just really love that in any like context. So like that'd be an amazing person to work with. And
What
so
do you
yeah,
think?
Sarah Sherman, if you are listening,
Obviously, you are.
yes, I know you're a big listener to WIDR.
89.1.
Yes,
So, Jackson's here.
reach
and-
out.
Yeah.
Jaxon Curry Official at gmail.com.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, on your YouTube page,
My
Jaxon
YouTube
Curry
page.
Official at youtube.com, you posted the first opening gig you ever did. What was that like? Well, I'm sure you were nervous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was the first gig that I had done paid. I've been doing talent shows for years. So, by the time that I did my last talent show, I was like, I know what this is. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the set that I'm proud of, and it's going to be great. But when the big change really was for me was that now money was involved, and also I wasn't performing at the high school. I was performing at like an actual like venue, and people paid, so they were expecting like something good. And that kind of it did like mess with my head a little bit, because I was like, hey, how do I need to change anything? And I was like, is my stand-up good enough? Is definitely something that I kind of questioned, where I was like, hey, will people see this? And you get the intrusive thought where it's like, oh, will people like come down and will they demand their money back? And I'm like, no, they're
not gonna do that.
they're gonna, this guy's the worst.
Get this guy off this
They'll
stage.
throw tomatoes and like the shepherd's crook will pull me off.
Yeah, that'll be the funniest part of the whole show.
It would be. Could you imagine if that actually happened? I don't.
Maybe that's your next.
That's the character.
That's your next routine. It's just like a really bad stand-up comedian, and it's really unfunny until someone starts throwing tomatoes and you get pulled off the stage.
I would enjoy that if I was watching as an audience member. I would like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be the guy.
No,
though.
I don't want to be there.
Anyway, Jackson, it was lovely talking to you today.
It was lovely being here.
I'm so excited, and I hope that you can be on the big TV soon.
I would love to be on all TVs, all television screens.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to have your Netflix original series.
What do you think it would be about?
Oh man, it would be called Curry, and it would have a picture of curry on it.
Yeah, the dish, yes.
The dish.
Okay.
But in overlaid would be your face, and eating curry over like a face with a spoon.
So I'm kind of eating myself.
Yeah, kind of. And then it would be about. It would only be shots of you from the behind. We'd never actually see your face except for on the poster. Yes, and here's my addition.
Okay. I think I'm making curry, but it's just you can only see the back of me.
Yeah.
And also playing over that is my stand-up.
Exactly. Yes. It's like a cooking show, but instead of any commentary, it's just your stand-up comedy. But you're not saying it, you're cooking.
Yeah, I'm not performing it. No, you're listening to like a tape that I made like maybe like years before.
Yeah. It's a little crinkly, a little crusty.
I think so. Yeah. I think it's got like that vinyl crinkle to it.
Yeah, that's actually analog tape crinkle.
Oh, delicious.
Well, I mean, it's vinyl. We don't have to get into it right now.
Let's talk about this now.
But anyway, Jackson, it was great having you on here today. Once again, people can find you on
at
Instagram.
Jaxon on the gram. I hope I said Jackson enough. If you type Jackson enough times, I will appear.
Yeah, just look for the little blonde kid.
Yeah, and you'll be like, oh, that's a little blonde boy. I should follow him. But just me. Don't take that as a rule for life.
Yeah. No.
You can find my YouTube. I'll have more stand-up clips up soon. At Jaxon Curry Official. I'm at the YouTube. If you get the crazy idea to hire me, I'm at Jaxon Curry Official at Gmail. That's JAXONCURRY. I feel like I have a goofy name, but I feel like that's one that you can spell kind of easily.
For sure. So yeah, it was lovely having you on today. This was Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Bella Hamid, and it was great having you, Jackson.
Thank you. It was great being on. Thanks for having me on. Do you want me to play us out?
Oh, sure. Do whatever you want.
Behind the scenes.